Hello again. This time I'd like to show you how to work with files directly from the camera. Those files can be either proxy or high-res files, and the way to work with them that helps a lot with the workflow is to upload them into a server that can be either a physical server in the same network or even through the internet, or even a virtual server like our C Cloud services from Sony. The reason to use proxies is very clear. It helps a lot with the workflow, I insist. What we have been recommending for years from Sony is to edit in proxy and render to conform the final piece with the high-res files. So edit in proxy, render in high-res. But the reality, depending on the country, depending on the legislation in the bandwidth, it's kind of different because, for instance, here in Spain, we have seen some broadcasters that, despite that chance to use proxy for editing and high-res for conforming, if the bottleneck is going to be the transmission, because through terrestrial antenna, regular antenna, it's going to be something like 4-6 megabit per second, even if it is just for full HD signal, then it doesn't make total sense to use a proxy that can be full HD 9 megabit per second, for instance, for editing, then rendering with the 50 megabit per second clips, and then finally going into the bottleneck, which goes at 4 or 6. So the final result is that for them it is much more effective to directly do everything in proxy quality. By the way, I'm talking about proxy quality. We should think about low-res quality, because as you can see, it can be even full HD files. So we will see that in the camera. So the term proxy is still in the menu, is still in the camera, but maybe we should talk about the low-res file. So in that case, in which they do everything with the proxy files, it's obviously much more agile. The signal quality is enough for that transmission. Typically, let's think about news, and they can leave automatically the rendering process during the night, for instance, for archiving those pieces that have been aired but not yet conformed or generated. For all this workflow, we need to distinguish very clearly between how to connect the camera to a network and what to do with that connection. There are 7 layers in the OSI or OC model. I'm not going to refer to all them, but let's think that there is the lowest 3 layers are how to connect, and the top 3 or 4 layers are what to do with that information. So, for instance, in a camera like this, I have here, and I will do videos about that, FX9, FS5, but now I'm going to refer to the Z280. In Z280, we can connect to a network and thus to the internet via 3 ways. It can use the built-in Wi-Fi connection. We can also use the RJ45 that we have in the rear side of the camera. So directly connected via cable to a router, and we can also connect via 1 or even 2 dongles, depending on the application, that can be 3G, 4G, and they can be connected. I was going to say directly. I wouldn't prefer to do it directly here because it's not so ergonomic, but you can put it anywhere on the camera through a little USB male-to-female extender, and you can directly set the camera to transmit, provided that dongle is compatible with the camera and you don't have the PIN code activated in the dongle. So, in which situations I would recommend one kind of connection or other? Obviously, what I would recommend all the time would be to connect via Ethernet, via RJ45 cable, because that is the safest way. You can avoid a lot of electromagnetic interference that you could experience, for instance, with a Wi-Fi or dongle connection. But the reality is that not every camera is going to be in a tripod, in a little slider, or in a crane, so probably the camera is going to be moving. So be careful with that, because it's not the same situation, a stadium or a live event or a church, when it is empty and you are testing your network, or when it is full of people, with everybody with one or even two devices around their bodies generating signals, so they can affect, obviously. The good thing is that, depending on the application that we are going to use, there is a QoS, quality of service protocol, integrated in the camera. So, for instance, if you're going to connect to an RX1 receiver, which is basically a server with SDI outputs that you could have in the studio, for instance, or you are going to connect to the XD Camera platform, in those two cases you can work via that QoS protocol, or I wouldn't say protocol, way to talk bidirectionally between the server or the system and the camera, so that the camera can conform the signal, the output, the bit rate, for instance, depending on the environment in which the camera can know that it is included, because it's receiving feedback from the server. So now what I'm going to do, the first step, is to connect the camera to my Wi-Fi network. So now, in order to connect my camera to the network, what I'm going to use is a little Atomos Ninja to record the menus from the camera. I'm going to close the lens so that you can see things better. It will appear here, what I'm configuring in the camera. And I am going to connect to this device. It's a little MiFi that in this case is connected via cable to my router, but it is generating a Wi-Fi around it. In order to make you know that I'm not going to cheat you or to make any little trick, the first thing I'm going to do is to reset the network. So everything that is stored there, because I did this video firstly in Spanish, I'm going to reset it. So if I press reset, it will ask me to reboot the camera once all those data are removed. Now switch the power off, and I will restart again. So let me see if I can record the menus again. If the Ninja is automatically activated to record, it's okay. So now, obviously, the menu in which we have most or basically all the features related to connection and to applications related to connectivity is the network menu that you can see here. The first thing that is really astonishing is that I cannot see any function here. They are all grayed out, or most of them grayed out. Why? Because the first thing that you need to do with the camera when you configure it from scratch for the network capabilities is to set the username, which is provided by default with the admin name, but I need to set also a password. So I will do it now. I will probably put the video faster. And now that I have set a password, you can see that now the wireless LAN appears, the wired LAN, the modem. The modem is for the 3G or 4G dongle. So now more things appear there. The funny thing is that the username and password that I have configured there are, as far as I remember, only used for the, well, I don't know where my phone is, yes, for the content browser mobile. If I touch the camera and I haven't logged in before with my mobile phone, then in that case it will ask me, the content browser mobile application, to write down those username and password letters. But everything I'm going to do, and it's very important to see how it works, only with the camcorder, and this is going to be done only once. So the camera operator, if you are a camera operator and you're watching this video, please keep tranquil, because it's not going to affect you, only just in one thing, which is selecting which profile and set it to on, and done. But now I am doing that pre-production, let's say, job in order to configure everything. So obviously we need the wireless LAN to be activated. I have two ways to activate it, which are the access point mode and the station mode. In the access point mode, the camera generates a Wi-Fi around it so that I can connect a device, and that from that moment, the camera and that device are connected peer-to-peer, so no other equipment can get a connection to the camera. Obviously, at this moment, and for this explanation is not interesting, so let's set it to station mode. In a station mode, both the camera and any other device around can be connected to the same access point. So, sorry, yes, back. And now you can see that the ST for station mode settings appear here. Now I can set the camera remote control to be enabled or disabled. This means that if I connect via Content Browser Mobile or via IP access, I can play with the camera, play with the menus and the configuration. So I used to leave it in enable mode. But the most important thing, obviously, is the scan networks. This, which is a very usual thing to do, and you are all used to work this way with your smartphone or with your laptop, which is searching for a network that is around that device. In the cameras, unfortunately, hasn't been incorporated until a few years ago. So it was very, very painful to type the SSID in the camera in order to find which network it is, because sometimes the ASCII code was not the same, for instance, for the space in your router and in the camera. So it was totally unmatching, but you couldn't know it. So it was a real pain. So now I'm going to connect to the Huawei 2.4G network, and I'm going to set the password. Okay, DHCP, I prefer to leave it to on, so that we are assigned an IP address directly from the router or the access point. DNS is the same, so okay, connect. And now you will see that in the upper side of the LCD, some Wi-Fi dot with the little bows little bows appear, now with a very nice connectivity. That is what you can see in the upper side of the screen. In the upper side of the screen is where all that information, sorry, that information related to connectivity appears. So for instance, we will see that when we shoot some clip and we are automatically uploading their corresponding proxy into an FTP, a number appears with an arrow pointing upside. That means that those are the quantity of jobs or clips that are yet to be uploaded. So for instance, if you're working with proxies, the usual number will be 1, 2, 3. But if you are manually selecting which high-res files to upload, then the queue is going to grow significantly, because remember that in this camera, for instance, if you are shooting in 4K at 50 Hertz, you can generate a signal which is 500 megabit per second. So it's very huge compared to the proxy that can be only 9. So it's obviously there is a queue and there is a bandwidth that we cannot. It can be saturated at some moment. So that's the way to see how many works will appear there. Also, if you are connected to XDCamera or the Virtual Production Suite or the RX1 server, you will see NCM, which stands for Network Client Mode, in the upper side of the signal. But the good thing is that it is almost transparent for the camera operator, so you don't need to have a very big logo over there. It's quite it's not very intrusive, let's say. So now we have our camera connected to the network. The next steps will be to know how to upload files to a server, and so we need to configure such a server. Okay, so now the server to which I would like to upload the files can be either a mnemonic, let's say, address like a CI, I don't remember, cimediacloud.com, whatever. So it's typically an online server, or it can be also a server that is either in a local or in a public IP address. If it's in a local address, then it means that the camera belongs also to the same address. So the camera will need to send those packets of the file to an address which is typically 192.168, blah, blah, blah. But the usual way to work, or probably the majority of you will be working against a server that has a public fixed IP address. So, for instance, we would need to write 88.83, blah, 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 a strange address to send the packages to. In this case, since I'm going to use the workspace from CI, what I'm going to do is to configure that in my camera. But for FX9, Z280 and the Z190 with the network license, we need to do one little thing, which is install in the camera a certification.pem file that we can download from a website that I will show you how to do it, and I will write down there in the comments the address in which you can find it. It's the same file for the three cameras. Unfortunately, as of today, we can only find it for the Z280 website, so I imagine that in the future we will find it also for the FX9 website and the Z190, but it's the same file, so you can find it in the Z280s. That file will need to be downloaded, unzipped, and left in the root folder of an SD card. So remember that in this camera, we're going to place or to record the high-res files in the S/S card, and the proxy and the camera configuration and all those little things in the SD card. My little advice: when you are going to work with an SD card, and especially when it is going to be inserted in a laptop, I strongly recommend you to format that card in the camera. So that way you will avoid any headache related to different formats or different ways to work in the camera and in your system. So now it's formatting. As you can see, it's very easy. I'm going to do the same with the S/S card. This always happens to me the other way. Okay, now I have formatted the SD card, and now I'm going to format the S/S card. So now the next step is to insert that SD card in my laptop, and I will download that file and show you where to load it in the camera. So now I have the card inside my laptop. You can see it here. Well, automatically when formatting, the private folder was created. I'm not going to remove it, and we can download that file, that certification.pem, from this link. I will download it. Okay, as you can see, it's a very, very light file. You can even open it from a notepad in order to see what it has. It's only text, random text for myself, because I don't know what's about. I will show it in the folder, and I will extract here. Okay, now we have the certification.pem in the root folder of the SD card. Now I'm going to extract it from the laptop, put it inside of the camera, and now I will start configuring the server to which I want to upload the files to. So now it can be a very boring process, but I insist, it's only to be done once. For setting the server parameters, I can go into the file transfer menu, and here you can see several things which are quite interesting. Firstly, the auto upload proxy on or off. If I set it to on, it means that every time a high-res file is captured in the camera and the corresponding proxy file is created, that proxy file is automatically uploaded into the server that I have here. Okay, so now I can select the NCM for network client mode, so it's typically for XDCAMR or the RX1 server, so I'm not going to talk about that. And apart from that, I have 3 profiles here. So what I'm going to do is to set a new profile for the, a new set of parameters for the profile number 1. Apart from that, you will see later that I will use the clear completed jobs, clear all jobs, or especially view job list in order to know what's going on in the camera, with the camera in background related to uploading files. So now I will go into the server settings number 1. I'm going to rename it firstly in order to make it much more comprehensible. So I'm going to call it CI Alvaro. Okay, now I have a name that is understandable by me. As you can see, I cannot edit the FTP. As of today, the only way to transmit is through that, to transmit files, to transfer files, is via that FTP protocol. If in the future some new protocol for transferring files appear, I understand that there should be an option there to choose another one. But as of today, I cannot modify that. The host name, in this case, is going to be ftp1 cmediacloud.com. Port is going to be 21. It is the usual port for FTP transfer, but if you want to modify it, you can do it. Okay. So I'm going to cancel. Username is going to be the username and password that you have for logging into C, into the cloud services. I don't want you to see this, so I will put something in order to prevent you from watching it. Okay, also the passive mode, as far as I remember, it's better to leave it in on. Destination directory. First of all, you could see that in my workspace, I already had a folder called Z280. That is the one I used for the demo in Spanish. I'm going to trash it. Okay, now it has disappeared. There is nothing called Z280, but in order to avoid any suspicion, I'm going to call that folder Z280 with an E in the end, which stands for English. Okay, so at some moment I will need to see here a folder called Z280E in which the clips are stored inside. Secure protocol to on. And now, here's the part in which I need to load that certification.pem file. Instead of none, I will load it. Okay, set. And now, insert memory card containing that file. It's already inside of the camera, so okay. Now it has loaded the certificate. And now, if I select as the default server the CI Alvaro, everything that I upload, either automatically or manually, will be uploaded into that server inside that Z280E folder. But before that, we need also to play with something, which is the proxy recording quality. Here you can select either to create or not create a proxy file every time I record a file. The quality, I'm going to leave it at 9 megabits per second, and the audio, okay, channel 1 and 2. So now I am ready to upload directly from the camera to that folder. I'm going to shoot. Here I have an Atomos Sumo, so maybe you are watching a strange image over there. So what I'm going to do is to say 1, 2, and 3 to the camera. I'm shooting with an FS7, and you will see that in the future those proxy files related to those high-res clips will appear into a new folder over there. So that is what I'm going to do. I don't want the clips to be very long, so this is clip number 1. This is clip number 2. And this is clip number 3. And now you can see in the upper side of the screen that I have a 3 with a little arrow. This means that something is being uploaded. If I go into the network, file transfer, view job list, I can see that now there is one file, probably the first one, the proxy in proxy quality, that is being uploaded into that folder. Now it is completed. The second one is starting to be transmitted, and the third one is still waiting. If you take a look on the name of the files, the proxy files end always with an SO3 surname, let's say. So that helps me a lot when editing, because I will have the SO3 files for proxies, but the same name before that SO3 is for the high-res files. So now it is transferring the third file, but if I refresh my workspace, you will see that now a new folder has appeared, which is the Z280E. Since here the 3 proxy files transmission has ended, I can see 6 items. Why 6 items? I will show you. 3 of them are the MP4 proxy files, as you can see here, here, and here, and 3 of them are the metadata, the XML files. So and now to demonstrate that it was this way, this is the number 3 that you can see. I was pointing at the camera and telling number 3. So now they have been uploaded. As you can see, despite I have been taking a look on the job list, it was totally transparent for the camera operator. He or she could only see a little arrow with the number of files to transfer. If I switch off the camera and switch it on again, it will retake the task in the point in which it was left. And now I'm going to do the equivalent with a high-res files. Remember, I have shot 3 files. Now if I go into the thumbnail menu, I can see those 3 files. And now if I press the menu and go into the thumbnail menu that appears here and say transfer clip, I could transfer the proxy. They have been already transferred because automatically, the proxy ones, but I could transfer the high-res clip by selecting it or all the clips. All clips to be transferred are the most easy way to do that, but sometimes maybe you don't need all them, and maybe in the final EDL from the 10 files that or clips that you have, only 3 are involved. So in that case, it's better, it's more optimized to only transfer those 3. In this case, I'm going to select, for instance, this one. I will press here, and now if I press the menu button, as you can see in the upper side of the screen, it will start the transfer. I will execute. Okay, it has been added to the job list. I will go, out of the thumbnail menu, and if I go again, just for watching it, to the file transfer job list, you will see that there is one, which in this case it doesn't have the SO3 ending in the name of the clip, so it is the high-res file which is being transferred at this moment. The moment it ends, we will see another, I think, couple of files over there, one for the XML and the other one for the MXF file, which is the high-res that I am shooting here. So let's wait a moment, and I will go back to my workspace, and now you can see it has been completed, that task. 8 items appears here, and this one, and this one were the proxies, the MP4, and this is the MXF file, so the high-res. And also, of course, I can play it. I can see some parameters down here. So, as you can see, very easy both to send files and to automatically upload the proxy files to a server. So I will probably do the same task, so not the whole explanation about the reason of the proxies, but how to do that in an FX9 and an FS5 probably, but the process is quite similar. So I hope that this, well, not small, this tutorial helped you to make your workflow much more efficient and to take the maximum of your camera, because as you can see, especially in the case of the Z280, it's very, very powerful. So thank you very much for watching this content, and hope it's helpful.